April 2025. This week we learned about JSON API. And for basic JavaScript, when you attach it to HTML, you use source attribute, the address of JavaScript, put the address of JavaScript in source. And yeah, basically, so we will start from server-client relationship. And there is, in HTTP, you can send multiple requests to multiple servers. This is very good example. If you turn on the Chrome and go to Chrome Developer tab and check the Network tab, then there is like various in this homepage you can see 796 requests, and even you are seeing this seeing the web page, the number of requests increasing, and there's more activity going on. This is how inner side really happens. The HTTP send a request link and image and script from other web page. And if it increases your activity going on while you are seeing the web page, which means it's doing server-side rendering, which is pages were rendered on the server. I mean, this is what we are doing client-side rendering. I will fix the information. JavaScript renders the view on the client side. A lot of network after access to web, it's still going on. Opposite thing is server-side rendering, which is pages were rendered on the server and clients just receive HTML, CSS, JavaScript. These days, I don't see the statistics, but we usually see with client-side rendering. It's very common. We use single-page application. Angular React Vue.js comes out because of single-page application. SPA pattern uses HTTP via asynchronous JavaScript. We sometimes call it AJAX, but we don't use XML these days, so maybe we should call it differently, just as asynchronous JavaScript. Yeah, okay, this was the basic information. So you can check this information also any website you're going to. So if we talk about HTTPS, in HTTP there is headers, methods, and payloads. These three things are important things. In headers, there's representation header, general headers, and request headers. You can understand many things from headers, which is like 401, it notifies, which is unauthorized, but actually it's unauthenticated. And 403 is forbidden. This is actually unauthorized, which is the client does not have access right to content. So this is HTTP headers about this. And for HTTP method, there is CRUD, create, read, update, and delete, which is for basic operations for data SQL manipulation. For each of actions, this is corresponding method, get, post put, and get, put, delete. And for HTML payload, HTML can carry the payload. You can also check it in Chrome. Go to Network tab, and if you click any .javascript file or .csv file, you can check the payload. Payload can be many format, but this is kind of usual format: application JSON, or application XWW format, or text plain format, or multi-part form data format. Each of things contain JSON data, or ASCII, non-ASCII, and so on. And API is application programming interface. We have client-side web API and server-side web API. Server-side API there will be consist of one or more publicly exposed endpoint. So we can reach to an endpoint. It typically expressed in JSON these days. So we use REST these days very often. So if you use REST API, you can get a resource by request them, and server will do REST response with JSON format maybe. So this is a kind of one example. Let's say we have REST API to manage a database of movies. Then we can define the following sources like movies and movies ID. Then we can use HTTPS method, get, post, put, delete to update, get all the movies or get a single movies or create new movies and so on. Maybe some can ask, what is the difference between JavaScript object and example of JSON? JavaScript object is following. You can define it with curly bracket and call it with list method. For JSON, key attributes must be in double quotes, string must use double quotes, and no functions, comments, or trailing comments are allowed. You can move in between by this command. JSON.parse will convert JSON string into JavaScript object, and JSON.stringify will convert a JavaScript object into JSON.stringify. So it was about JSON, which is data format representation. And next is AJAX, what we mentioned, which is asynchronous JavaScript and XML. But these days we use REST API rather than XML. And there's also two-way. This is kind of very important. You can use callback-based or promise-based. And another important thing is, in practical situation, you should be able to move in between callback, promise-based, and async await, using async await. Yeah, it will be useful to move in between to practically write a code. We will do this later. So callback function, we use two parameters, and in promise-based, we use .then and catch it with event. And async and await, we make another functions, and using async and await to make it seem as synchronously. In this fetching case, this is communication is well done each other, but when we are going to access specific JSON or data, there is no maybe can be 404 unauthenticated or unauthorized error. In this case, we should define the error. So this is the exercise what we do it. First is change this function, change this fetch format, which is right now promise format, fetch and .then and catch error, change it to async and await. Second was fetching the Pokemon things and put it up in HTML file. And for before end, I will do a quick review, which was when you do DOM manipulating, you add add event listener DOM event content loaded functions. This is when needed when something is in HTML if it is not exist, we don't need it because there's HTML and things and client server interaction, and we can do async and so on. It's a different story. In HTTP, the HTML will be added. From last week, the important concept is asynchronous programming, timers, callback, promise, and async wait. This is really important concept. Timers, promise, callback, async wait. Callback is function passed and executed when event occurs. Promise is a more clean way to manage sync flow, and async await is make it more using async and await keyword for make print the things more synchronous way. Looks like synchronous, right? And for timers and intervals, there are some methods that set timeout, set interval, clear timeout, and clear interval method. Timers. Okay, now we will see the practical code together. For DOM manipulation, there was query selector. There's DOM tree and query selector. And when event loaded, there was some functions that you can use. And listening and responding to event is also key thing. When you click it, what should be happen? That is all related with DOM, modifying the DOM element and creating DOM and removing DOM. Okay, we will see the code together. First, the first code is breakfast.html and breakfast.javascript. In this case, first we made it in synchronous way and call it. And next is we're going to make a synchronous function. We set timeout function asynchronous return new promise refer arrow and set timeout console 3 seconds. Also in this case, set timeout. Then there will be some difference happens. And second, when we do fetch, there will be URL and top then if response, then we will get response.json data and we will print it. When we use asynchronous way, then from this we can define the function and try it configure, because this is asynchronous. Fetch Pokemon URL is asynchronous. We will use await to wait it, and after it finishes, we will go to the next step, const data. And for Pokédex, this is how it looks like. There will be asynchronous fetch Pokemon function. Try it and await. If we catch the error, and if the below is function creating Pokemon card based on, and this is function ID, Q query selector, and QSA query selector. So if we run it with Pokemon.html, okay. This is what will happen if we do again. Ganger. Oh. Error. Maybe I put wrong name. Ganger. Why error is happening? I will figure it out and make next recording. Thank you.